Hey boys, what do you call sheep that like to go to war?
Battle sheep.
Ooh, so close. It's actually battle sheep.
Hi, I'm Russ from Family Board Games. I'm going to talk about 10 new games in my collection. So I recently had a birthday, which always falls right around Father's Day. And I'm blessed to have a loving family that gave me a bunch of new games that all fall in that family board game category. I'm going to talk a little bit about the games, some general overview in terms of the number of players and complexity, the mechanics, and I'll explain below what I mean in terms of the different mechanics to educate you along the way in terms of how to play these games and maybe how they're similar to others. And I'm going to talk about why I'm excited about these games and what they add to my collection. So let's get started. First game, these are in no particular order. So the first game I'm going to talk about is Ticket to Ride London. And so this is designed or published by Days of Wonder. It's designed by Alan R. Moon. It plays 2 to 4 people. It really, age could be 5 and up. It plays best at that 3-player count. The weight from Board Game Geek is a 1.27, and it takes about 20 to 30 minutes. So most people are probably familiar with some form of Ticket to Ride. This is just a smaller version of Ticket to Ride. It takes place in London. It's a smaller map. It takes less time. Instead of trains, you have the classic London double-decker buses. Now this really, I've played several versions of Ticket to Ride. This, more than anyone, feels like Ticket to Ride Light, like truly the quick version of it. We have New York, which is similar, which is taxis. But for whatever reason, this just feels more like Ticket to Ride, I think because it has the score tracker on the board. So as you get points, you do the score track. Ticket to Ride New York, you don't add it up to the end. And so this looks and feels just like a mini Ticket to Ride. So if you love Ticket to Ride, or you maybe just want to check it out as a family, I definitely recommend this game. It's obviously cheaper than original Ticket to Ride. It's faster, it plays quicker. We can play with it with our 5-year-old and up. And so I love Ticket to Ride. You know, it's my #1 top 10 family game that's great for kids and adults. This is just a different version of it, but if you want to play it and play it faster and a cheaper version, highly recommend Ticket to Ride London. I gotta figure out how to try to stack these next to me. Next one was a game from a gift from my wife. And so this is a game called A Little Wordy. And this is from the same publishers that make Exploding Kittens. I think the company is just called Exploding Kittens. So it's a 2-player only game. The weight is 1.5 according to Board Game Geek. It takes, you know, a round takes 5 minutes, but it recommends you play 3 rounds in a row. So the game takes about 15 to 20 minutes and it can be longer if you're having fun and you just want to play more rounds. So this is a word game and it's tile building, but it's clever in terms of how you're building the words, because it's not just about the longest word or the best word that you can do. Every round there's dynamic scoring or there's dynamic powers essentially that let you try to uncover what word your opponent has built. But vice versa, they can have those same powers. So you need to think of something that's clever that they can't use those powers very well. So for instance, there's one that lets you pay a certain number of berries in this instance, and that's part of the score. Pays berries, and they have to tell you a word that rhymes with the word that they built. Now, if you didn't build a word that has a bunch of rhymes, that could easily give away what the word is, which actually happened the first time. That was the very first card I played against my wife, and she had to say it was post, and then I immediately knew it was ghost, and I figured it out right away, which she wasn't super thrilled about. But then we started to get the hang of it, and again, you have to just trying to be clever in terms of your word building, and clever how you're guessing what they are, but also making sure they can't guess what it is. It plays fast. This is brand new 2021 game, and it was fun. It was a lot of fun. I think we'll go back to this one because again, it was easy, simple to play. And if you want to play something that, you know, lets you be clever but doesn't take too long, and word building, not a traditional board game, I do recommend A Little Wordy. Again, brand new. There's very little reviews on it, so go check it out. Okay, next game has a cool story with it. This game is Colt Super Express. So the cool story is, many of you may not know, but we live in Cork, Ireland. We moved from the States in August of 2020. And coming here, I was excited to find who is my friendly local game store. There isn't really a true one in Cork, but there's a virtual one called Tabletop Cork. And so I've been trying to support them and been buying from them, and my wife has been as well. And the owner knew that it was actually around my birthday, and so he threw this in for me. So amazing story. If you're anywhere in Ireland, definitely check out and support Tabletop Cork. So this game is from Lemonade Games. I'm not going to say the designers because they're French names and I would butcher them. So it's from 3 to 7, so that's a pretty high player count. It says it's best from 5 to 6, and you can play it, 6 and above. The weight is pretty low. It's 1.15. It takes about 15 minutes, so it falls in that filler game category. And so I haven't had a chance to play this, but I've checked it out. I know how to play and what it does. So it's really a programming game. So what does that mean? It means you're playing with a set of cards, so it's hand management as well. And you're trying to figure out the order that you're going to play it. And so you put your hand of cards down, and once they're down, you can't really change the order. And then you start flipping them, and you're going around the table and flipping and revealing. And there's simple meeples on cards that are moving up and back and around a train and turning certain ways, and maybe shooting people forward and back and off the train. And over multiple rounds, you're trying to make sure you're closest to the end to get the loot. So I don't have a programming game in my collection, and that's why I'm excited to add this. And again, it's fast. It'll be a great filler game once we get back to game nights here. And something that you can play, and something I can play with the kids, and something I can play with adults. So again, thanks Tabletop Cork, and I'm excited about Colt Super Express. Next up is a 2-player game from Space Cowboys. This is T42. This is from Cedric Chabouis, maybe. It says it plays for 8+. The weight's 1.62. It takes about 20 to 30 minutes. We haven't had a chance to play this yet, but I've read the rules and watched reviews. And my best description of what I think this game is it's the card game War, where you flip over and show the highest card, with deck building. And so how the mechanics work here is you flip it over, and whoever has the highest card either gets each card that has a special action, which gives you some resources, or you can take the difference between the two scores and then buy a card with that, which makes your deck better. Once you get through your deck, you reshuffle. You can slim your deck along the way. So I think a simple game. I'm excited about this for a couple reasons. So A, it was a gift from my wife, and she likes the Alice in Wonderland theme. For me, I can honestly take it or leave it, but she likes it, so she'll want to play it, which is always a great thing. The other one is, this is also from the same publishers as Jaipur, which is another amazing small box 2-player game that we have in our collection that we play a ton. And so if it has any of the fun and replayability of Jaipur, I'm very excited to play T42. And again, I like that it's, I love deck building. I'm biased towards deck building, and so even the light deck building here will be fun. T42. All right, next one is a game that I bought with some Amazon credit from my family. And so this is Mysterium Park. Again, we haven't played it yet. This is from Little Wordy Games. Xavier Colette is the designer. Plays 2 to 6. It says it's best at 4. Age 8 and up. The weight's 1.48 in Board Game Geek, and this takes around 30 to 45 minutes. So this is a co-op game, and it's a smaller, lighter version of Mysterium. And so it's a co-op game where you're essentially kind of telling a story, and the story is someone has been murdered, and you need to figure out what happened. So who did it, and where was it at? And I know in Mysterium there's a third, I think there's a murder weapon. I think this cuts that out, and so it makes it a little slimmer, makes it easier to set up, makes it faster to play. And this also has a 2-player version. And so I figure my wife and I will be playing this. We can probably play with our oldest Seaman here shortly as well, who's 7.5. And it's, again, one of those co-op games with limited communication. And so you can't openly say, oh, pick this, pick this. You have to give clues to get people to try to pick things in the same vein as, say, Dixit, or Hanabi. Although Dixit is competitive, but it is that limited communication. But it has the cooperative limited communication piece of Hanabi. So I'm excited to play this. Again, I think it will be fun when we have other families over as well, because it's that lightweight, limited communication, deduction type processes where everyone gets to feel like they can be clever. Mysterium Park. Next up is Battle Sheep. And this is a gift from my boys to me. This is from Blue Orange Games, which makes some amazing games. We have several in our collection in terms of photosynthesis, Planet, other great games. Designed by Rhoda and Firmerstrand. It plays 2 to 4, best at 4. You can play at 5, probably even 4 and up. The weight's 1.47, which feels a little high actually. Plays in about 15 minutes. So this is an abstract game where you set up really this grid of hexes, and the board's going to change and be variable every single time. And ultimately, you're trying to get all of your sheep out and cut other people off. What's cool about this game is there's no setup. You can play it immediately because that process of setting up the board is actually part of the game. Everyone has 4 of these hex groupings together, and you put them down and you make and you go around. And so if you want to make the board wonky with holes in the middle and different offshoots and peninsulas and things like that, you can do that. There's no setup to the game at all because that you're already playing as soon as the cover's off, and then very quick cleanup as well. So we played this one several times. We played it, at 2, 3, and 4 because it's so quick. The boys definitely enjoy it. It's one that we'll keep. I want to warn you that this one can be a little bit mean. And so it's very easy to try to, cut somebody off and leave their stack of sheep chips. And by the way, chips are a great component quality. Leave their stack of sheep chips and they can't move the rest of the game. So forewarn you, if someone doesn't like competition and things that could be a little bit mean, then maybe this isn't the game for you. But the good news is it plays relatively quick. And then what I encourage parents playing with kids is try not to overthink your moves. Just as soon as your turn's up, try to make your move as quick as possible. But let them think about it as much as they can. Maybe give them some hints like, you may not want to move there because the next move you could be trapped in here. But we've had fun with Battle Sheep. It also is available on Board Game Arena, which is a website that lets you play games for free or a premium version at a minimum cost. So you can check it out for free before you buy. So Battle Sheep. I'm going to try to get all these games so you can continue to see them, which probably won't happen. All right. Next up, I'm really excited for it to add to my collection. This is the Quest for El Dorado. So this is from Ravensburger Games, which we've got another one that we're going to feature here in a minute. It's designed by Reiner Knizia, is one of the most famous board game designers out there. It plays 2 to 4. It plays for 8+, so I think we should be able to start playing this with my 7-year-old soon. Board Game Geek says it's best to play at either 2 or 4, so maybe not that odd 3 number, but 2 or 4, it's great. The weight's 1.92, so I think this is the heaviest of all the ones that I have. Plays in about an hour. And why I'm excited about this, so again, it's deck building. And so you use cards so let me start with it. It's a race game and deck building. So you use cards to move your meeples across the board, and then you can upgrade those cards during the course of the game. I don't have a true race game in my collection, so I'm really excited about this being a true race game where you're trying to get across to the other side of the land. And then the other thing that I really like is that it's a variable and dynamic setup. So what the board can look like, it can be different every single time. There's certain pre-configured recommended suggestions, but it also says you can make your own lands. And so I'm really excited about that. I love deck building, and I love games that change up aspects of it so it's variable and really increases the replayability every single time. So I'm very excited to play this game. I've taken it out, I've punched it, I've read the rules, I've watched the videos, we just haven't had the chance to play it yet. So, but this is the Quest for El Dorado. All right, next up, another one we have had a chance to play. This is Scotland Yard. This one's also from Ravensburger. Several designers on this. It plays 2 to 6. It says best at that higher player count, so 3 to 5. Ages 6 and up, we played this with a 5-year-old. You just need a lot of coaching, and it's fine. So the weight actually is 1.96, so this is actually higher than the Quest for El Dorado. Plays in about 45 minutes. So what is this game? It's one versus many, and it's hidden movement. So in this game, most of the people are inspectors they're detectives with the Scotland Yard, and one person is Mr. X, so he's the bad guy. Mr. X is trying to hide from the detectives, and the detectives are trying to find Mr. X. It has this great map of London that you're playing on, and you're playing these tiles that represent movement. And so you can play a taxi one and move one spot. You can play a bus and move several spots. You can play a metro and move even more, but you have to be on the certain line and at the certain start and end points. And then a couple times per game, Mr. X actually has to reveal where they're at. And so the detectives know where they're at and they try to converge. We played this twice as a family, all 4 of us. And I was Mr. X both times and I lost both times. Really embarrassingly, literally on the first move on the first game, because I didn't really know what I was doing. But then the second game, I made it to 16 moves or something like that. You have to make it to 24 to win. So this will be a fun one. It's a good one where the kids and the wife can gang up on dad a little bit. And so I'm excited to have this in collection. It's a classic. It was born. It was designed, right around when I was born, actually. So it's an older game, but reprinted beautifully, and it works well as a great family game. So Scotland Yard. Let's see if I can stack it up here. There we go. 2 more to go. This is Small World. Small World is also from Days of Wonder. It's designed by Felipe Kinnertz. I hope I'm saying that right. And it plays 2 to 5. Your best at 4 plays for 8+, age 8+. The weight's 2.36. So I keep saying this is this is the heaviest one. Sorry. This is the heaviest game that I have. 45 to 80 minutes. And why I'm excited about this. So it's still on the shrink. We haven't had a chance to play it yet. But I have the app for this, and I've played it a decent amount versus the computer. So I understand how this game works and why I'm excited about it. It's a dudes on the map game. So one of the first heavier board games I played as a kid was Risk. This is kind of a modern take on Risk. And so you're trying to have dudes on the map and area control, and the certain number of areas that you have on the map at the end of a round gives you points. You total all your points at the end of the round. This game also has variable player powers. And so you get a certain type of character, like orcs or gnomes, kind of from the fantasy realms, elves, and they give you a certain power, but then that matches up with a different power that you can have every round. And so those combinations are random. So again, a lot of replayability within this. What's cool about this is you can, once you've kind of overspent and lost, some characters in battle and things like that, and you can't really do that much on the board, you send your players into decline. And so you get to then pick a new character combination with power combination and deploy new troops and leave the other ones on the board until someone takes them off or you decline again. And so it has a cool mechanic where, once you kind of overspent, you have to use a turn to create a new character, but then you get more power, and it makes that next turn even more exciting and refreshing. The other thing I'm excited about this game, it has different size boards based on the number of players. So again, it's 2 to 5, but then the board size changes based on that. So it is good at 2 and it is good at 5, which is a tough thing for board games to do. So I'm excited about this being the collection, excited to eventually play it, probably just with C-Man, and then D-Man once he gets old enough. It isn't really a theme or a type of game that I think my wife would love, but I'm excited to have Small World. And the last one, we've played a lot, is Survive, Escape from Atlantis. So this is from Stronghold Games. It's designed by Julian Cortland Smith and some other designers. It's best, or it plays 2 to 4 players. It's best at 4. I would say 5 plus in terms of age to play this game. The weight's 1.71. It takes about 45 minutes, and that's accurate. So we've played this. This was one of the first games we opened. I think this was the first games we opened in terms of this big board game haul. And so we played this 4 or 5 times. So this is another classic game designed in the 80s and recently republished. And it's a lot of fun. It's the first time I ever played it. I didn't play this growing up. Just had a chance the first time to play it here with the family. And so on this game, in this game, you are you're setting up again kind of variable tiles, tile placement at the beginning, which has you know, from mountains to grasslands to beaches, and then the tiles start disappearing during the game, and you've got meeples that you place on those tiles. Everyone places meeples on tiles, and your objective is to get them from that central island to the corners of the map to save them. Each meeple has a number underneath it, which is their value. I think it's from 6 to 1. So you have to place them there, and you have to remember where your high value meeples are because you can't look after you place them. So eventually the tiles start going away. So the beaches go first, then the grasses, then the mountains. And when every time a tile goes away, it either gives you a power that you can use later, or something bad happens. So, you know, that the tile goes away and a shark comes up right then. If anyone was right there, then they're immediately eaten. So there's sharks, there's whales, there's sea monsters. Sharks eat people, whales crash boats, sea monsters do both. And so you're trying to get your players on boats and then trying to get them to the corners of the map. And it's been a lot of fun. The boys have really liked playing this. I will say though, this is another really mean game, because when you draw something and it's a sea monster, you get to decide where that sea monster moves. And so sea monsters move 1. If everyone's meeples if someone else's meeples are in a boat and they're 1 away from sea monster, you can move that sea monster and eat up the whole boat, and it just disappears. And all of the points they could have gotten from saving those people are gone. They're just gone. But great production, big chunky components, big tiles, thick tiles, good wooden meeples. We've actually played this one outside a couple times. So this is another good game you can play outside because it's no cards, it's big chunky components. And I can recommend it for that. So this also can have a little bit of gang up on dadness, which is fine. You know, that's actually good for games when, you know, the boys can say, oh, you know, move the shark here. Let's not attack each other. And I'm okay with that, you know, for them to gang up on me a little bit. And I think of the 4 times we played, I think if we've had a different winner each time, you know, my youngest has won this. So I really like Survive, Escape from Atlantis. And again, recommend it if you can have a family that can deal with, that can deal with a little bit of competitiveness and a little bit of meanness. And if you're looking for that, then this is a great game. So that's the new Welcome to the Collection. I want to thank my loving family for the gifts. Again, I want to thank tabletopcork.ie. Check them out for a decent amount of these games. And looking forward to playing them all. And then the ones we really love, you know, detailed reviews eventually at some point. Thank you for watching.